step into a void between heroes and villains. One thing I've always liked in a good story is the lineup of different characters. There are heroic, humble, determined, selfish, and even sometimes horny protagonists, crafty, heinous, and respectable villains, and then there are those which are somewhere in between them. Those who you can't really tell, are they on your side or are they against you? These people are known as anti-heroes, and we'll be taking a closer look to them today. Now, before we get rolling, there are a few rules I need to clarify. First of all, I see anti-heroes as an opposing power between the protagonists and the antagonists. In other words, I won't be including any main protagonists on this list. So no Travis from No More Heroes or Kratos from God of War. If you were thinking, the fuck does the fictional in the title mean? It means that I will be including anti-heroes from other forms of media, like TV shows and movies. And this won't be the last time you'll see a fictional countdown on my channel. And of course, these are my personal favorite anti-heroes in media. It's very likely that you have your own favorites, so please respect my opinion. Alright, with all that jazz out of the way, let's see what's in store for us. Avatar: The Last Airbender. There are many reasons why many people, myself included, have fallen in love with this series. For me, two of the biggest reasons were the character's ability to control different elements and the development of the characters themselves. One thing that really bugged me as a child was that all of the firebenders were evil. And that was a huge buzzkill for me as a kid, because I thought their powers were the coolest. I mean, who wouldn't want to shoot fire out of their fingertips? But there was one firebender who was special. The Prince of the Fire Nation, Zuko. Now, at first, I wrote off Zuko as a villain, who was after Aang just like everyone else, but his backstory is what makes him stand out. Because Zuko spoke off his turn during a war meeting, he was challenged to an Agni Kai, which is a duel between two firebenders, by the Fire Lord, his own father. And because Zuko refused to fight him, Fire Lord left a scar on his left eye and banished him from the Fire Nation. The only way he could return and restore his honor is to find the Avatar and bring him to the Fire Lord. His anti-hero status really kicks in when he becomes the Blue Spirit and saves Aang from Admiral Zhao. And during the second season, when Azula is sent to capture Zuko and his uncle, he is basically in a void between heroes and the firebenders. At this point, he struggles with his goals and what it is that he really must do. And when his honor is restored in the third season, he's not happy. This ultimately drives him to realize that he must help Aang to defeat his father. After this, Zuko joins Aang and the others and teaches firebending to Aang. Zuko's development as a character is crazy when you think about it. At first, he just seeks the Avatar so he can return to his father's side and, honor! But in the end, that's not what he wants. He wants to build a new world of peace with Aang, a place where everyone are in balance. And that's what makes him such a good character.
I know I've made some bad choices, but today, I'm gonna set things right.
JP's gonna kill me for this. What's this? A character from the Sly series this low? What could this mean? Okay, truth to be told, I was never the biggest fan of Carmelita. Her over-the-top dedication to her job and being a stereotypical independent woman type have always kinda ticked me off. But that doesn't mean I hate her! Carmelita's role in the series has always been pretty unclear. It's obvious that she's Sly's love interest and, well, a cop. But she never really has a certain side. Sure, she has helped out the Cooper Gang on multiple occasions and even joined temporarily to take down a common enemy, but many times she's not a friend or a foe. In other words, she's an anti-hero. Logic. As a character, like I said, her characteristics don't really pick me up, but her personality is a different thing. Yes, she has that independent woman attitude, but she also has a strong sense of justice, and she does see when there are bigger threats than a gang of three. Also, I love her conversations with Sly. They're usually just Sly flirting, but jokes fly everywhere between these two, and most of the time they don't even take each other seriously. At least until the shock pistol starts to sing. Overall, while Carmelita is far from my favorite character in the series, she is a great anti-hero and a definitive part of the series. Now I'll just hope that JP won't kill me for not.
Saying that there are other criminals in the world other than Sly Cooper! After him!
Let's take something more obvious for a change. Meta Knight. Being one of the icons of anti-heroes, it's not a big surprise that this masked ball with wings and a cape would appear on this kind of list. Meta Knight's fame starts from the Kirby's Adventure on the NES, where he made his first appearance. Since then, this masked ball of fun has appeared in the majority of Kirby titles to either give Kirby a fight, assist him in order to reach further, or join the ride to defeat evil. The reason why Meta Knight is so famous is because of the mystery behind him. He very rarely takes his mask off, and when he does, it's usually upon defeat. In few Kirby games, when you beat Meta Knight, his mask flies off and he's revealed to be almost identical to Kirby, but he leaves the battlefield almost immediately. This has led to speculation that Meta Knight might be the same species as Kirby. His design is also really cool, my favorite being probably the one from Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And like I said, his relation to Kirby is very varying. He is truly that kind of person who you don't really know whose side he is on. He also has been shown to have an army of Meta Knights and a giant battleship named Halberd, which he did use once in an attempt to dominate the Dreamland. But he does have honor towards his opponents, as shown in his fights with Kirby, where he gives Kirby a sword in order to fight him fairly. Overall, Meta Knight is one of the greatest anti-heroes for a good reason. His true identity and his motives might be shrouded in darkness, but hey, I think that makes him just more interesting. That's gonna have mysteries, right? Oh yeah, and he's also OP in Brawl. Did I say more? Pokemon rivals have been somewhat of a mixed bag. In recent years, they have been mostly friends with the protagonist. The only ones who don't fit this description are Silver and N. Gary was also kind of an asshole, but I guess you could say he was a friend. The same goes for anime. I mean, the relationship between Gary and Ash developed, which made Gary a much better character than he was in the games. But then Sinnoh Saga kicks in, and oh my days, do we get an anti-hero indeed? Okay, fine, I understand that Paul was a real prick in the beginning of Diamond and Pearl, but hear me out, okay? First of all, Paul was the first rival to actually be sort of silver-type rival to Ash. His compassion for strong Pokemon can be seen from his fighting style, and later on, from his team. He never goes for the same tactic, but rather uses lots of different Pokemon against his opponents. The reason for his hunger for power comes from the very beginning of his journey, when his big brother Reggie challenged the leader of the Battle Pyramid and lost to him without knocking out any of his Pokemon. This makes Paul think about his own strength, and results in Paul becoming hungry for power so he wouldn't lose to anyone the same way Reggie did. He is also the sole reason for the development between Ash and his Chimchar, because when the same Chimchar was with Paul, he forced it to undergo harsh training in order to activate Blaze, an ability that makes Chimchar incredibly strong when he has low HP. Paul's nature is very arrogant. He doesn't want to make friends with anyone, and he often calls Ash pathetic. On the other hand, he can also be polite towards people like Nurse Joy and Cynthia. However, he does change a bit towards the end of the saga, particularly after his and Ash's full battle in Sinnoh League. While Paul might be a prick most of the time, the tribulations he goes through and the way how he thinks make him, in my opinion at least, very interesting character, and the best anti-hero in the Pokemon franchise.
So, I'll see you.
One more thing, Paul! Let's battle again really soon!
Huh?
Whenever I think about great characters in video games, there are two franchises that instantly come to my mind. One of them is Ace Attorney. There are 5 options for anti-heroes from the Ace Attorney series, aka the rival prosecutors. And even though all of them are really great, there were ever only 2 options for me. And even though one of these 2, Miles Edgeworth, is much more iconic character for the series, in the end, I had to smell the fragrance of dark coffee. Smooth. Godot is very much a fan-favorite character in the series, and it's not hard to see why. He's a coffee addict who gives badass arguments in court and throws coffee mugs at Phoenix. Brilliant, and much like Meta Knight, Godot is shrouded in mystery and he wears a mask. Except unlike Meta Knight, you actually get to know the reason why he returned from the depths of hell to do a battle with Phoenix. But first, let's talk personality. Like I said, Godot is a coffee addict, and that's pretty much his thing. He's also pretty badass when it comes to prosecuting, and like the other rival prosecutors, he's willing to do anything to win. In other words, he notices every single flaw in Phoenix's logic. Every single time. He also has plenty of metaphors and other phrases which he patters out in court. But his backstory is what makes him so special. As it turns out, Godot's real name is Diego Armando, a defense attorney who was working with and dating Mia, Phoenix's mentor, back when she started out. In Mia's first trial, there was a tragic accident which let the true culprit of the case, Dahlia Hawthorne, go free, but Diego and Mia didn't give up on the case. However, when Diego confronted Dahlia, she poisoned Diego's coffee, which led to her apparent demise. But he survived. However, he had lost his sight, which forced him to use a mask in order to see something. But for even worse turn of events, upon hearing that Mia has been killed and that Dahlia has been executed, he snaps. The fact that the woman he loved and the woman he wanted to take revenge on were both dead shocked him. He thought that Phoenix let Mia die, and that's why he became a prosecutor, to best him in court because of Mia. In the end, Godot had nothing left except to protect Mia's little sister Maya from Dahlia's spirit. You see, Faye family has power to channel spirits of the dead, and Mia's aunt Morgan Faye was plotting against the main family, so she used her daughter Pearl in order to call Dahlia's spirit to kill Maya. However, Godot interfered this plan with the help of Misty Faye, Maya's mother, who channeled Dahlia before Pearl. Misty gave her life to protect Maya because in order to stop Dahlia, Godot had to kill her. And the events of Final Case revolve around this incident. In the end, when the truth is revealed, Godot breaks and understands that Mia is actually living on through Phoenix. He tells everything, and at the end he even cries. I know this has been a long ass segment, and I'm not sure was I able to explain everything good about this guy, but I know he's sure as hell worth it. Another franchise I think of when talking about good characters is the Tales series. Like I've said before, the games are filled with lovable characters all over the place, and the anti-heroes are no exception. With honorary mention going to Gaius from Tales of Xillia, I present to you the Traitor to Heaven. Kratos Or, easily one of the most badass characters in RPG history, let alone the series. He's my personal favorite character from this game. How about that? But in all seriousness, Kratos is a great character and anti-hero. Much like Godot and Meta Knight, Kratos' origins are mystery from the very moment you meet him. In the beginning, he claims to be a mercenary who promises to take the job of protecting the Chosen, Colette, one of the main characters, upon receiving a payment. Along the journey, his bond with the main character Lloyd strengthens, and they both start to have respect to each other, even though Lloyd saw Kratos more as his rival. However, when Lloyd and the company reach the Tower of Salvation, the final stop on their journey, they find out Kratos' true origins. He's actually one of the 4 Seraphim angels who are loyal to Lord Yggdrasil, the main antagonist of the game. After being defeated in the Tower of Salvation and escaping to Tethiala, the group meets Kratos randomly around the world. Kratos even helps out them a little in different situations, and even rejoins the party one time to stop the out-of-control Raging Tree. It's very unclear which side he is on, but in the end he seems to side with Crucius. Near the end of the game, when Lloyd and the others have to get help from the Summon Spirit Origin to use the Eternal Sword, Yuan, the leader of the Renegades, brings Kratos to Lloyd and reveals that Kratos is his real father. In order to make Kratos to break Origin Seal, Yuan threatens to kill Lloyd. However, this is prevented and the party heads out to Torrent Forest to find Origin. At the Origin Seal, Kratos is waiting for them. In order to form the pact with Origin, Lloyd has to defeat Kratos so he can break the seal. After an epic father-son duel, and when Kratos is defeated, Lloyd forgives Kratos from his betrayal and Kratos breaks the seal. While Kratos doesn't develop incredibly during the course of the story, it's his role, his badass nature, his demon fang personality, and his true identity that makes him one of the best.
There is no meaning in dying.
You're right. To think I had to have my son teach me such an obvious lesson.
I couldn't find any music from the series for this segment, so I guess you'll have to do with some music from The Wonderful 101, which is a real shame since this show has some pretty fucking good music. Oh, and spoilers.
Bakugan. While this series might seem like a Pokemon ripoff on the outset, it's actually really well crafted show. The story and the concept are interesting, the characters are great for the most part, and they've got some really good animation in the mix as well. The series basically focuses on Bakugan battles between good and evil. But they've got a pretty good void in between the good and the bad in the form of Spectra Fat. This guy is really something special. In the beginning of New Vestroia, Spectra is actually the leader of the Vexos, the main antagonist group in New Vestroia. But as the series progresses, it's shown that Spectra has bigger motivations than imprisoning the Bakugan. First of all, it's revealed that Spectra is actually Mira's lost brother, Keith Clay. Soon after, Spectra's true goal is revealed as well. He's intending to create the ultimate Bakugan, and he even goes so far as to turn his own partner Helios into a cyborg. However, when the Vexos learn about his true goals, they become afraid that Spectra turns against them. So they abandon Spectra and his servant Gus Grav to die in an explosion. But Spectra survives and continues to pursue his goal of creating the ultimate Bakugan. He clashes with Drago numerous times in order to get his perfect core energy and make Helios even stronger. However, when he doesn't seem to win, Spectra agrees to help Dan in their fight against the Vexos. Despite this, they're still not on good terms. When the BT system gets destroyed and Drago evolves again, Spectra fights Drago one more time to prove his superiority with his new invention, the Battle Gear. But when he inevitably loses, Spectra and Helios recognize Dan and Drago as the better brawlers and join forces to defeat the Vexos. Overall, Spectra's character is very interesting, and his essence in the series make him one of my personal favorite characters.
Perhaps it's time that I consider working with the best instead of against him.
Huh?
Don't even try to fool me with this. The moment you clicked on this video, you knew this character was going to make an appearance. And you knew he was gonna be high. Shadow, the freaking Hedgehog. Me being a fan of Sonic and doing a list like this, it's kind of given that Shadow would be here somewhere, but you might be surprised that he's only number 3. And it's not just because everyone else says he's the best anyway. What can I say? Shadow the Hedgehog is an icon to all anti-heroes out there. There's only so much I can say without repeating someone else, but I'll try. Shadow made his first appearance in Sonic Adventure 2, where he acted as a mysterious character, helping Eggman with his plans and fighting it out with Sonic. He was supposed to be only in that game, but due to fan popularity, he was brought back for Sonic Heroes. And yeah, while Amnesia is not really original because people not remembering their past has been kinda done to death, I personally still like Shadow during his Amnesia period. Shadow is not only favorite anti-hero of many, but also a fan favorite character in general. And while I don't fully agree on these things, I do agree that Shadow has a great personality and very good character development during Sonic Adventure 2, and even partly in his own game as well. But I don't know what else to tell you. Many people have talked about Shadow, be it as a good anti-hero, as a great boss, or as an amazing character in general. While I personally think he's a bit overrated, I do think he deserves all the love he gets. However, for me at least, there are two anti-heroes that are better. So let's move on.
If the world chooses to become my enemy, I will fight like I always have.
So, what is my favorite video game anti-hero? Well, this. Gaspard is a weird case. He's initially a villain, more specifically a henchman of the main antagonist, Emperor Griffin. But he has a certain vibe to him that many anti-heroes tend to have. He's very self-centered and seems like he's doing it for himself rather than under Griffin's orders. So he's not technically an anti-hero, but it's my list, so let's talk personality. Gaspard is very cocky and somewhat refined assassin. He thinks no lives should be spared if it's for achieving what he wants, and he's merciless for his enemies. But he's also honorable if his story about his duel with Monica's father is true. Speaking of which, Monica has a score to settle with this guy because he kinda killed her father. Whoops. As his title suggests, he is the Dark Assassin, and he's no slouch in hand-to-hand combat either. First of all, he has huge ass sword which he uses to engage his combos, and he also has this beam thing that deals a good amount of damage if you're not careful. He has also pretty good jumping maneuvers, and he can— whoa! That's a nice flip. Now, all I've said about Gaspard killing Monica's father and being very cocky, you'd think this guy would be hateable. But there's the inevitable but. When you defeat Gaspard for the second time in Chapter 5, he asks Max why he is still fighting against him, and he answers that he wants to protect his mother. After hearing this, Gaspard breaks emotionally. You see, he's a half-human, half-changeling who was chased out of his village with his mother after his changeling father's death. They traveled from town to town trying to find a new place to live, but they had to live on the road for a long time. But the stress from everything that they went through made Gaspard's mother terribly ill, which eventually led to her death. In her last words, she asks Gaspard not to think ill of people and find something of his own to protect. Gaspard realizes that he hasn't done anything that his mother wanted, and ultimately turns his back on Griffin. However, Griffin doesn't accept this and forces Gaspard to fight against Max and Monica as a monster, and when he is defeated, he's near dying. Before passing away, Gaspard says that he was glad to meet Max and Monica before the end. And that is why I love Gaspard. He might be more of a tragic villain, but to me he's an anti-hero. The greatest anti-hero in the video game history.
Could you show me where your journey will take you? I'd like to see it too. The end of my own journey. Farewell.
Okay, you know the drill, and frankly, I can't wait to get to number 1. Let's recap. Number 10,
Honor.
Number 9, Carmelita Fox. Number 8, Meta Knight. Number 7, Paul. Number 6, for coffee reasons. Number 5, Certified Badass. Number 4, Spectra Phantom. Number 3, The Black Blur. And number 2, Gaspard the Dark Assassin. So when I said in the last segment that Gaspard was my favorite video game anti-hero, you can probably figure out that my favorite fictional anti-hero comes outside of video games. And now, let's virtualize. Yes. Yes! This is more like it. William Dunbar, a teenager anti-hero, is the one who beats all of the above-mentioned anti-heroes for me. You might be thinking, this guy must be amazing! Well, take it as whatever you want, but now we're talking about him. And you ain't gonna stop me! William is a very weird case of an anti-hero in context. For the second and third season, William played more of the role of Ulrich's rival in love and acts as a counterbalance to the Lyoko warriors. He's shown to help them on multiple occasions and sometimes even manages to surpass their expectations. However, his memory is always wiped by the return to the past. But in one episode, he is shown to remember some events that happened during Xana's attack, and in the very same episode, Jeremy and the others consider in taking William along to fight against Xana. They ultimately let William join, but letting a rookie go on the field on his own has its consequences. Xana's Kifisoa attacks William and he is captured by it. This monster inputs Xana's data into William's memory, which enables Xana to possess him. Because Xana gives him new powers, the warriors are unable to stop him, and he becomes a warrior for Xana instead. This sets the events of Season 4 into motion. All the other anti-heroes on this list have had some kind of big backstory, character development, or mystery behind them. William doesn't have any of those, at least not in so big proportions. What makes William my favorite are simply his fights with the Lyoko warriors. I'll admit that it was a dick move for Moonscoop to turn William into this, but it kinda boosts his anti-hero status. Even though he's possessed, he still keeps the same cocky and confident attitude he had before. He's easily Xana's strongest weapon, and his battles with the warriors are almost always the highlight of the episode. The Lyoko warriors also seem to learn from their battles with William, as it was almost impossible to beat him in the early stages of the season, but later they seem to win against William almost regularly. William himself is a bit of a contradiction. We all know he was taken by Xana against his own will, and all the villainous actions he does are made as Xana's puppet. But many encounters with him also indicate that he's not your ally, whether he's being controlled or not. And his status already in the earlier seasons make him a definite anti-hero in my eyes. As for why he's my favorite, I think it's because he has a little bit of everything. A bit of personality, a bit of darkness, a bit of nostalgia, a bit of badassery, and most importantly, a bit of both good and evil. I'm finished, and take it away, William. Victory! Thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time. Take care.
A tragic mystery. You could have left me here, still inside the blood. No one would ever know the chaos control. My true identity, the power that is me. We are destined fire, trapped in a mass machine. Don't know how long we've wasted as the ignorance watching. We are destined fire, looking through the screen. Don't know how long we've wasted as the ignorance watches. Explosion, the fighting electric lives, change surroundings, a trillion history. The treasure disappears as she goes, miss her as we look away, and no one knows. This power is a key, this power changes me. We are destined.
I am the thing that keeps you up at night. The evil that haunts every dark corner of your mind. I will never rest. And neither will you.